welcome back everybody. Thank you for watching that commercial break. We're into the second to last series of the day. It's going to be KeeN versus MacSed. So let's get his name back up here. It's going to be on Overgrowth first, and it is another TvP. KeeN, poor KeeN, TvPs all day. His games versus stats were not, they were long. I don't know if close is quite the right word, because long games don't necessarily mean close. It just means that stats didn't want to risk losing a very good position. But he did not look clueless. I basically think he's going to look a lot more confident versus the Chinese Protosses. But we'll see, because the Chinese Protosses, I think this might be a guy they can actually face that will be decent to cheese. I think stats are just way too confident in that matchup, but KeeN, maybe not so much. Reverse the... That works? That does work. Amazing. On Overgrowth in game number 1. In the top right is the blue Terran. He is KeeN. In the bottom left is the yellow Protoss. He is MacSed. So yeah, I think KeeN might be more confident against MacSed, but I think MacSed might have a couple of chances to abuse KeeN, basically. So whether that's a proxy Stargate, or a Dark Shrine build, or more aggressive tactics than usual, or who knows what. Maybe just it's as simple as Adept all-ins, right? I think KeeN could still die to that, more so than stats could. But KeeN also should, in the macro game, have a better chance. He might even play a different style. You know, in the very first game versus stats, KeeN tried basically to kind of turtle with Liberators, which isn't a bad idea, it just didn't work out. And then the second game, he tried a bit more clever of a push with that stim. It didn't work, and as such, he was forced again into this kind of like defensive position, when usually the Terrans don't really be that person. At the very least, the first 8 minutes is theirs to kind of do the drops, Widow Mine drop, maybe a secondary drop with Widow Mine, and then into stim combat shield drops and pushes. Basically, they're the ones that are supposed to be on the map controlling for a little while until maybe the Protoss gets to Colossus, or maybe the Protoss gets a Warp Prism into their main or something like that, right? Well, that I actually didn't even feel it that time, so I don't even know what that is. That is MacSed. MacSed did drop out of one of the games earlier. It was a simple, just literal drop, and then he was still in StarCraft, though, so that's more of like, just like, it should have been like one of the 100 games, or more even, where just like, yeah, okay, I guess that happened, that was weird, and then you live on, but maybe he is getting lag more continuously than that. Well, it's not anything too cheesy yet. MacSed does get a Nexus after Gateway. KeeN going for the Widow Mine drop. This time not with that secondary barracks to get fast stim. And it is looking like a regular PVT. Still going to be looking more towards what MacSed is doing. He does add on a Stargate now, but this is not even really, when I see a Stargate like this, it's not even like, oh my god, what can the Oracle do? It's more like, well, how fast can he get that third base? And can KeeN do anything about it? Usually not. When it comes to Widow Mine drops, that's the whole reason that it's so doable to get a fast third base against Terran, especially when the Widow Mine drop, is that it just, you know, 6 Marines and a Widow Mine, or however combination you have, just not enough to kill a Nexus. We've seen a couple of clever tricks, like bringing an SCV to the third and building a bunker, and then dropping your Marines there, or following up one medevac with a second medevac, and if both of them go to that third base, maybe then you can actually kill it, but it's really difficult to do, so usually it is just a fast third from the Protoss when they open up like this. The Oracle gives them detection for the Widow Mine, as well as good scouting, and if they feel a necessity, or if they just want to, they could go for Phoenixes to lift up the Widow Mine and kill the medevac for sure. Oh, maybe I spoke too soon. It's not a Widow Mine. I didn't even recognize the tech lab going on the production tab, or if I did, just was like, assumed it was something else, but now that tech lab on that factory, and this will be a very big surprise for MacSed. Again, I was just talking about how like a Widow Mine drop doesn't kill anything besides probes. It can kill a lot of probes, don't get me wrong, but it usually doesn't kill any more than maybe 6, right? Usually just 2. So the fact that it's a tank push, which it's no longer a tank push, so never mind. I actually don't know what KeeN's thinking here. Never flipping mind. Okay, so back to Widow Mine Widowmine drop, then pretend the last 30 seconds didn't happen. I was spot on before that. What is KeeN doing? So KeeN did get the Widowmine. He didn't cancel it. But he still got the Tech Lab. I guess he just... I guess he didn't... He wants a Widowmine just because he doesn't want to deal with the Oracle. I don't know. Well, the Phoenix is on the way. We'll see how many Phoenixes. Could just be the one. It's usually like 1, 3, or 5 seems to be the numbers. 1 if you just want to clean up Widowmine or a medevac that's been bothering you. 3 if you want to scare medevacs away. And 5 if you really actually want to chase medevacs down and kill stuff and even pick up a couple units like SCVs around a missile turret. It's more than 1 so far. Robo now on the way. Important to note that MacSed did not get that really quick third base. He went for a second Oracle, and he went for the Phoenixes, and he went for a Robo. So KeeN's going to be able to see this. He's using the intent to take a third base, but actually seeing it kind of quote-unquote late, it might be a relief for the guy. It might also be a little bit scary, because you're like, okay, what are they doing on that one base? All I saw was a Stargate. He's not going to see the Robo or the Robotics Bay unless he scouts. Which he could very well throw down a scan. He knows that medevacs are unlikely to get into the main base where the Phoenix is out, so... Well, waiting for that stim. Whenever he does have stim, he might be able to have a fairly good push with tanks, because he didn't just stop at 2. Oh no, MacSed. Oh no. Okay, at least he saved one of the Oracles. But I think every other game he stopped at 2 unless he had to replace one. So now he's up to 3. You go right to the middle of the map, siege up over here. I think you can actually do some significant damage to the third base. MacSed does go for Colossus, by the way. So Stats was playing like more in the mass gateway style both games. Yes, he eventually got to Colossus the first game. Yes, he went for Tempest the second game, but it was initially about Double Forge and a lot of gateway units. This is the other style of Protoss play that we've been seeing. Usually a safer, slower, more of a build-up like Heart of the Swarm Protoss was. Not any worse or better, but different, and something that KeeN will want to scout. But just by doing the push, he might do the scouting, you know? And he is pushing forward. The Observer sees that. Not much that a 3 Phoenix can really do. Again, at best, they scare medevacs away. They don't even actually snipe the medevacs. They can try and lift the tanks, which is usually a very good maneuver, but again, only 3 of them against stimmed Marines. They probably won't be picking them up for very long. Stim, combat shields, +1, all finishing up here. And this would be a very good push, but it looks like KeeN's gonna just wait a little bit longer. There we go. He can't really wait until Revelation's done, and even if he did, it's still obvious that he might still be pushing through the middle, so it's not like he's gonna get a positional advantage. Manages to grab that Observer. KeeN is on 5 barracks, no 3rd CC, I want to note. So even though he's not exactly pushing forward with like blazing speed here, his intent is to push. But, just given the time like this, because I think if you're, slow about it and smart about it, you can just basically siege hop until stim is done, but at least be in position. Now he's, not in position immediately, and has given MacSed time to get 2 Colossus. There's the second one right now. Will 2 Colossus be able to do it? No, not necessarily, but they will add a lot of damage to what is a mass Marine army. Liberators don't really have an answer, and that is the biggest problem right now. MacSed might have to go into more Phoenixes. He did actually get to 5. That's a bit better, but they still aren't that great at sniping Liberators. I'm able to grab that one at the loss of 1 Phoenix, but worth 4 tanks. Even there's no Stalkers here, that's still a lot of damage on clumped up at depths. They shade through and they're a little bit spread, but the Marines with their combat shield, stim, and +1 just wreck through them. Only 1 Widowmine went off, and they're just going to wreck the Colossus too, and that is going to be game in favor of KeeN. GG. So like I said, KeeN should probably be more confident against these players, and now that he's kind of broken through a TvP, shall we say, he's finally won a game in a TvP, he'll probably be even more confident in the second game. But it's going to be MacSed's map choice, so the remaining 2 maps. Guys, I think I bought too many perfumey things. I think it's the one that I hung up in this room. That is a little too potent. I think it's what's hurting my throat. Not just like solo casting, but I think it's the damn perfume. Ugh, Wolf tweeting about Korean barbecue. Obviously I can go get Korean barbecue, but it's kind of... I don't know, it's kind of sad if I went into a Korean barbecue and asked for a meal, because usually the meals are like for more than one person. Just be like, oh no, I'll eat all this, trust me. The next map is going to be Echo. Just waiting for the countdown to begin. I think I missed Robbie Blitz. Thank you for the 9-month resub a half an hour ago. Sorry about that. There's the countdown. I've actually been doing a bit of Christmas shopping, so I did like 90% of my Christmas shopping a couple days ago. You know, all online, obviously. But I still have to think about something for like a friend that's pretty far away, and then I still gotta buy some things in Korea, you know, souvenirs type deal. But, there's actually a ton of stuff. Looks really tempting. I'm actually, like, getting myself, because, you know, when you reach a certain age, just about giving your parents a wish list, right? They don't want to actually try and find something for you. It's mostly travel gear, but there's some really cool travel gear out there. Nifty stuff. But Christmas isn't quite here yet. 20 more days, guys. 20 more days of Christmas caroling and Christmas songs and Starbucks. It's great. And top left on Echo, game over 2, it is the blue Terran KeeN. And on the bottom right, as the yellow Protoss, he is MacSed, and he is still in the proper position. Way to go, buddy. Well, the last game was a killer build. You know, 2-base attack with tanks is especially good now. I'm a little surprised we didn't see more of an era of... An era not being that even that long, right? I'm surprised we didn't see the first week of the new patch just be literally tank push after tank push. I feel like it happened for some people on ladder, but it didn't really show itself in pro games, because the new tank push is just... You know, in the last patch, tank pushes were already pretty difficult to deal with, especially on certain maps like Frozen Temple. And while there's no map like Frozen Temple in this map pool, the tanks are so much better against the stalkers that Protoss can get that I would have expected some heavy abuse on the tank pushes. But I guess it might have just been the map differences that has stopped people from depending on the tank pushes as much. I don't think I've seen a one-base tank push yet in this new patch. Second barracks is on the way, so not going to be a Widow Mine drop, or it might be that build we saw him try and use against stats on this same map. I feel like this might be his go-to build in this map, because the third base is even more of a given. So again, a lot of Protoss builds, you think about like the Stargate opener into fast third base, or even like the Warp Prism harassment into pretty quick third base. Like, it's a lot about the third bases, but you know, first you gotta know if the Protoss player is more of a slow build-up type of Protoss player, or the fast third base type of player. That's the first trick, and then the second trick is to find out what type of map they prefer to do whichever one on. And Echo would be a really good map to try and get the quickest third base possible, which is what Stats was doing. KeeN's thought process with that attack in the last series was not bad at all, but it just didn't work out. It's not quite the same build though. Third barracks comes down, so it's the barracks opener. Kind of a more rare build to see, to be honest. The Widow Mine drop or tank production is definitely a lot more popular, but this does give you a lot of units early on. And provided that you are bold enough, basically, you can push as soon as Sim is done, even if it doesn't necessarily mean that you have the medevacs. Because this is what pushes off medevacs is built like this. So you're not going to get the scouting in the main base more than what the Reaper can provide you, and you're not going to have a lot of harassment opportunities, but in exchange you get a much bigger army when you push. So the Reaper has quite a big job. It's already done its job though, and it will even do a better job. It literally sees the Oracle. So good job there. And KeeN is already prepped for it. He's got missile turrets, obviously no Widow Mines, but that's fine. Missile turret here, Marines over there. Point is, it's not going to touch his SCVs. Stupid perfume. +1 is now on the way as well. The Oracle, even though it's not going to be able to kill SCVs, it's got to try and get some decent scouting done, which it does. 3 barracks all shown itself to the Oracle, and that's important knowledge, you know? Now, if MacSed was attempting to take that 3rd base, like, the quickest possible, he would have already had it down, first of all, but second of all, he also would be maybe, I don't know if you cancel it, but you do try and get your units in better position and get the pylons up a little bit faster, and I think you do try and get a few more units, as opposed to getting as many probes as possible. But he did not go for the fastest 3rd base. He is going for a 3rd base, but after his gateways are done, after his robo is already almost done. And provided that he puts a couple of pylons here, maybe breaks down these rocks over here, he should be good to go against the push. Should be. I mean, there's still a very good chance that KeeN's push is just a little too strong, but it's still going to wait for those medevacs. I think that means that Combat Shield should be able to finish up, and he will have fully upgraded bio pushing into a Protoss player who doesn't quite have their tech. I think the Colossus will be interestingly timed. I'm not sure if it'll quite be out. I see the robotics be already on the way. Starport's got to get the swap off in the reactor. Not quite sure how that's going to work out, but I think it might just be out in time. Got a couple of Phoenixes here too. Oracle did manage to grab 2 SCVs, I believe. 2 SCVs and 2 Marines, I guess. Something like that. But we got pylons in this little well area, that's what we used to call it, and they got pylons at the 3rd too, because there's still a chance that KeeN breaks down these rocks, right? And especially if he didn't have pylons and he scans that, he'd absolutely break down the rocks. But KeeN goes for his own 3rd base, so not nearly as dedicated as the last game, but he still does have a push in him as the medevacs fly out, so I have to be a little bit careful. Phoenixes don't want to get too many freebies. Oh no, this went even worse than last game. Last game he lost that 1 Oracle, but barely saved the 2nd one, but because KeeN already had a group of units out on the map, nope. Had to lose the 2nd one too. That's pretty bad. You actually want to have an Oracle out in play, so remaking it might even be in order. If he doesn't, no relation, he's got to have some pretty good scouting with his Phoenixes, which is very dangerous because Phoenixes, they're fast, they're speedy, but they also don't have a lot of health. Scan goes down to the 3rd base, sees that it's pretty fully saturated. It also has pylons. He's going to be pushing through the middle here. There's no Marauders, right? So, like, when the Colossus comes out, and there it is right there, it's going to do some massive damage. The KeeN is starting to add on Marauders. He's going to have +1 armor on the way, because that's one thing that MacSed was not able to quite get, and that's upgrades. Whereas Stats had consistent good upgrades into great upgrades, double forge, MacSed skipped his forge for a little bit. He had to get the Robo, he had to get the 3rd base up, and he had to get to Colossus. And he also made a couple of extra Stargate units, so Forge was the last thing on his list. Now, this army is not big enough. If it had rushed in immediately as Combat Shields finished, it might have been able to snipe a sentry or a couple of Phoenix or something like that, but KeeN didn't look really eager to push in with his army, and he will have to wait for his secondary army, basically, whatever else is at home, to push in. So he got 2 Liberators on the way. Again, this might just be for harassment, but he's already got that 2nd starport in a fusion core. I don't know if he really should play super defensive against MacSed. I said, like, his confidence might be a lot better against MacSed than it was versus Stats. And if the confidence is good for a Terran, usually that means they're going to be a little more drop heavy. But I think the Phoenix count has successfully deterred KeeN from trying that. And I don't really blame him. Like, that is a lot of Phoenixes, and Max is even almost at this point going like Phoenix Colossus. That's how much he's dedicated to Phoenix. In fact, that is for Anion Pulse Crystal, so it is Phoenix Colossus. That's just weird. that is something that I don't think KeeN's gonna be expecting. Like, sure, you see the Colossus, that's a, you know, whatever, that's the way he's playing. You see how many Phoenix there are, and you just think, okay, then I guess he doesn't want me to drop him. But very rarely do you see the Phoenix and Colossus and think, okay, he's gonna get more Phoenix, and okay, he's gonna get the range upgrade on the Phoenix. So what this means is that, okay, for the Liberators, they're gonna maybe be able to attack with the Liberators, which is a big deal, provided they have a little bit of coverage on the ground to do so, like they're not just getting sniped by the Marines. And if it was Vikings, they'd be able to tank with the Vikings a little more effectively and a little sooner, too. Basically, if you're going to go Phoenixes, then of course it's a worthwhile upgrade. Unless it's, like, versus Hydras, in which case, why would you get their range upgrade? But point is, against Terran, this is actually going to be very tricky. I don't think KeeN's expecting this. Because I actually cannot think of the last time we saw Phoenix Colossus. Maybe when Myunchik was still playing, and he played in our tournaments, like, a full year ago or something like that. So, this is going to be a little weird. Resident Enclave's also on the way, so not only does KeeN have to worry about the Colossus and the Phoenix, he's going to have to worry about some very beefy, decent damage-dealing Adepts on the ground. I do wonder if Adepts would be better or Charge would be better, but whatever. He's going to go for Adepts. KeeN can be able to deny this 4th base for a little while. He is getting a lot of Liberators. None of them went to go try and harass, which would have been a very poor idea anyways, considering how many Phoenix there were, but you'd be surprised at how many people still send those Liberators through, because honestly, Phoenixes or not, you don't expect the Liberators to get like 20 probe kills. You expect them to maybe not be paying attention for 1 second and get like 10, which can still happen with Phoenixes. But Ghosts are also on the way. Ghosts can actually be a very effective tool against this type of army. It was effective against the army in Heart of the Swarm. You get rid of the Phoenix energy as well as all the shields of a very like bulked up army, and that is still technically damage done. But now against the Legacy of the Void army will also be effective against the Adept ground army, because back, you know, before it was either Charge or Stalkers, which I mean EMP was still effective against the Charge bots, right? But point is, EMP, good tool to have. Thank you to, as far as it goes, the 21-month resub. A couple of Adepts now looking for some harassment. It's been a very harassment-light game. Makes sense for KeeN being denied because of those Phoenixes, but maybe MacSed could have done some more with Phoenixes going to the mineral lines, especially as they've gotten to the numbers of 10. There are now 14, so they could definitely slaughter a mineral line, even if there's a missile turret there. And those missile turrets haven't even in a good position. KeeN's going to try and defensively take on this army, which Defender's advantage is pretty big. I don't know if MacSed really wants to dedicate to this. Like, Templars are on the way now. He transitions to the Tempest, which was always an option since he got the Fleet Beacon so early. And this game is a lot more complicated than the last one. The last one was just like, okay, he got to 5 barracks, he's going to do a tank push, can MacSed hold? Nope, okay. But this one has a lot more units in play, a lot more micro in play, and still a lot of positioning, with the Liberators having to be sieged up in decent positioning. I'll say that word one more time, positioning. Anyway, the Liberators do find a little area here. I mean, they go on top of cannons originally, but now they're going to be able to abuse the... Oopsie, did it again. They're going to be able to abuse the choke that can occur around this base, which is very annoying for Protosses to deal with. Well, for anyone to deal with, actually, because Protosses can use it against the Terran in the way of force fields, like we saw with stats on this map. EMPs did hit a lot of those Phoenixes. In fact, it looks like almost all the Phoenixes. That was pretty damn good. More EMPs go down to the Phoenixes, too. Again, not just taking away their energy, which at this point, you know, not really about the energy. What are they going to pick up? They're going to try and take out the Liberators and the Phoenix, but it takes away their shields, and that's still huge. Especially if they're going to clump up against the Liberators. Liberators don't have that plus damage anymore, but they still do have Splash, so be effective against the Phoenixes when they try and snipe things. Other 4th base is scouted. KeeN might make his way over there, but killing this base for what was almost free is really good. It's a good thing that MacSed gave it up, probably. The other option was to lose it and then lose half of your army too, so... These Adepts actually going to do some pretty decent damage. These Adepts cancel another base, but KeeN's still on 4 bases, not going to cry about it quite yet. Going down to 48 SCVs though, and actually remaking the supply with army will give him quite the army supply advantage, but he might make the mistake of falling behind in economy. cannons going down. That is good. The Vikings will need that position probably. EMPs are trying to go off. They actually go off the Colossus, which isn't too good, but still shield stripped. Adepts still being a pain. KeeN's army, though, as it gets maxed out, will just be so much bigger. 20 supply bigger than MacSed's because of his SCVs lost. Upgrades are almost finishing for both players here. It's going to be 3-3 versus what is going to be 3-2, but with some upgrades on those Phoenixes. Force fields go down, but MacSed does not take the actual engagement. 8 more cities go down to even more Adepts. Jesus. And KeeN's stuck at 40. 40 isn't terrible, especially if you've already invested into an extra command center. But it is like a kind of like, okay, well, it's a little bit worrying, because if you do lose your army, and he pushes, I don't know how good your production's going to be. I don't know how reproduction's going to be. But you see the Tempest spell right there. Oh my good god, it actually worked, guys. Look at them, they're stunned. Look. They're like, what the hell's going on, man? I don't know. Didn't actually do that much, though. It's not as impressive or cool as I thought it could be. Whatever. I'm so glad we get to see it. Liberator count has really been thinned out here. Only 5 left, and 3 of them are quite low. But KeeN is steadily pushing in. Denied this base. This base already was up, though, again. So, MacSed's still on 4. Phoenix is trying to snipe some of these Colossus. Get one of them. A couple of Vikings lose their lives for it. They really are going to have a very hard time taking on all of these Phoenixes. There's so many Phoenixes. So I do think the better option would be to just try and focus fire down the Colossus. But the ground army might be able to do that. KeeN is pushing in here. He's got 20 army supply lead. He's getting on top of those Colossus very quickly. A lot of Max's army supply, don't forget, are in those Phoenix, which might not be able to help out enough when it comes to the ground army. They're killing all the medevacs. They killed all the Vikings, but the Marauders still have a lot of health left, and they're tearing through the ground army of MacSed. MacSed also starting to lose a couple of probes. Looks like a DT maybe or something more over there. Killing a couple more SCVs. But KeeN's holding strong at that same almost 40 SCVs. Seems like that's a perfect count for him. And he's now 30 army supply up. You do have other upgrades finishing up from MacSed, but that third base, that fourth base, excuse me, is probably going to go down along with the third. No, the Phoenix lift-ups are good at this point in time. It's going to drastically reduce the damage that could have been done to that Nexus. Thank you for those resubs. I'll get to it in a second here. I got a command center floating over that is going to be a planetary. And MacSed does hold. Is at that point in time where it's like, okay, KeeN, 40 SCVs, is that enough to be able to reproduce a big enough army? It's actually pretty questionable. These SCVs aren't even mining right now, so like 7 SCVs less than we would see. How much mule energy does it got? Okay, like a couple of moves are going to be able to come down here, and that'll be a big boost too, but that's a little scary right now. MacSed is on a couple of key units, and he's got to be careful too with how he engages. 1 Colossus, 1 Tempest, a handful of Adepts. Still down in that army supply. Everyone's still getting those upgrades. Thank you to who started things off here. Therion Gaming for the 2-month resub. Leoman for the 32-month resub. Holy crap. Creeping on that 3-year mark, yeah. And Struss for the 3-month resub. Thank you very much. When are we getting our 2-year badges? I don't even know if we have plans to really make different badges. One of the problems about it is that if you've ever been to someone who's pretty big with a lot of different timed subscribers and they're all talking at once, it looks kind of ugly, kind of crowded. Twitch is apparently aware of the fact and is looking into alternative solutions, but it seems like the solution is just to be a good enough graphics artist to like somehow be different badges but all cohesive. So, we'll see what happens in the future. Viking count has grown. Ghosts are now on the way, so the fact that KeeN is able to afford Ghosts is a pretty good sign that his economy is still very stable. We actually do have the grass because it's WCS game hard, and KeeN has in fact been winning the income war since killing 2 bases, I guess in total. Well, 3 if you include the base up here, but definitely 2. MacSed is only mining off of 1 base, where KeeN is mining off of still 3. This base is surprisingly healthy, I guess because SCVs have been taken off it so many times. He's going to be rolling in with that bigger army. The upgrades are almost all maxed out. These guys have really been pushing hard with the upgrades. So 3-3-3 versus 3-3-2. 1-2-1, sorry, in the Vikings. Phoenixes just attack so fast. They're oddly effective against the Vikings, but those EMPs went down, and it's not even really about the Vikings. The Vikings should probably be doing what damage they can to that Colossus, but KeeN's just going to try and push through with his ground army. He's not target firing the Colossus yet, and a couple Force Fields go down to stop him from doing so, but more Vikings come in, more EMPs go down, and 21 probes have been lost this entire thing. GG. KeeN takes game number 2 and takes the series. So KeeN is basically going on to try and get second place. We all know that Stats taken first. His next match will be up against Rush Crazy, who definitely, you know, I think the scores reflect so far the order of who's better and who's not. Like, I don't think this has been a case of someone got some crazy cheese or something like that. I think Rush Crazy is better than MacSed, but what is he like versus Terran? We're going to find out in this last match. They are fighting, I believe, for that second place spot. KeeN is going to be 1-1, Rush Crazy is 1-1. Yeah. Whoever wins this will be able to secure that second spot. Cool. Well, as soon as they're ready in the lobby, I'll get back to you guys. Thanks for watching the Leifeng Cup. I'll see you soon.